1, 2, 3. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Youth Ministry Garage, episode 192. In our pursuit to 200, it's going to be a live show. Very special today because Josh is gone, which I'm thrilled about. And sitting in for Josh is Megan Hutchinson.
Yes, hello.
Megan, who has been part of our show before.
Yes.
Once or twice?
A few times,
I don't
right?
know.
Okay, well, I'll introduce everybody else and we'll come back to you.
Great.
Okay, Matt McGill, people don't really care about. The Queen, Katie, who everybody loves. I'm Doug. Megan.
Hi again.
Megan has written a bunch of books in youth ministry. She's got a very experienced youth worker. She's got a blog, thinkbig.com. Promo.
Thinkbig320.com.
Oh.
Right. We really want to get it right.
Yeah.
320.
She is works with Slingshot, which helps youth workers find jobs, and so it's not like we brought in low scale people to replace Josh.
Just medium scale.
Top
I don't know that I'd go here.
Top tier volunteer youth pastor at a very happening church.
Oh, very happening church.
Gathering.
The following.
The Gathering?
The following. The Gathering's the church down
I
the
wish
street.
I did that.
The gathering is what's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
The Lord is with my humor.
Yes.
I'm so glad we have two ladies on the show.
Yeah, well, the other thing
Nice.
we have is for the second or third time, we have Mr. Edwards here.
Yes, live audience.
Right.
Hi. Ron
He's
Edwards
paying
here.
attention to his iPod.
Yeah, which I don't blame him.
I don't either.
He watches our show.
Actually, speaking of that, I'm going to
Does
check my
he?
phone real quick.
Wow.
He watches all of our episodes.
He checks it in his
All of them?
classroom. Yeah.
Do you watch the whole thing? Really?
Wow.
Do you have a favorite part of the show besides Katie?
Nope.
Katie's really good, isn't she?
Yeah, she is good.
Yeah.
Always really
We're all
good
good.
insight. We're all good. That's
Yeah,
why.
it's very
That's
entertaining.
why, Megan, this is an award-winning show.
Right. I totally
It's been a
know.
long
And
time
it's
since
been
we've
a
won
long
an award.
time since you've been
Yeah.
here, Megan. So I thought what I'd do is I would I'd just let you kind of know what a sacred space you're sitting in
Okay.
right now.
Thank you.
And we'll start with this
Uh-huh.
one right here. This is from Michael Henry. And Michael Henry is he's a double rewinder,
Oh, this is the double rewinder.
which
We
means
should put his name
he's
up there.
watched all of the shows twice.
Wow.
Yeah, twice.
Wow.
He was at our student leadership conference in Pennsylvania.
So I probably met him.
I don't know.
All right.
Maybe he's a
Good
commuter.
image, right?
Oh wow!
Did I meet you?
Double rewinder.
Did I meet you?
Wow! You have violated
He's up on
that
the
fancy
sponsor
set. This is guys and gal. Mike Henry, double rewind here. I sent you a question a couple weeks ago that you never answered. That's okay. Well, I don't really need an answer. We did answer it.
We did?
It's just that Matt, by the time Matt uploads the shows,
Oh.
it seems like it's a couple weeks
Well,
later.
you know, he's getting haircuts and stuff like that. He's busy.
Matt's busy.
Yeah.
He says, I didn't really need an answer anyhow. I only sent it in because Doug pestered me about never sending in anything after listening to so many episodes so many times. I mean, how can listening to Matt curse on air ever not get old? I say this only because of what I'm about to write. There is a reason why I never wrote in with any questions, and it is God-ordained reason at that. And no, Matt, you won't be the one to decide whether it is or not. It just so happens that I have had questions in the past. I was running our high school ministry for a while before we hired our current youth pastor. I'm a great number 2 guy, Doug. At the end of that time, a girl visited our youth group and then killed herself a few days later.
Wow.
This past February. Right around that time, I listened to Josh talk about doing a funeral for one of his kids. I recently heard Katie talk about what to do in case of abuse. I just had a student call me tonight and about a fight he had with his parents and let it slip that his stepdad hit him. I didn't hesitate to take appropriate actions, which were fresh in my mind because of Katie.
Huh.
Doug, I found out about student leadership, an important part of my student leadership ministry, from you on the podcast. Matt, well, let's just say that I think I remember Doug and Duffy talking about using negative examples in messages to point out truth during your seminars. All this to say that from those of us
in the end after a suicide comment.
from those of us from whom you haven't received questions, thank you for answering them before they're ever asked.
Wow.
We love you guys. Think of you
Wow.
as family and have more respect for what you do because of what we do. Keep fighting the war with love and mercy. So,
Damn,
look at what I
H.
wrote. Meg, this is sacred space.
Mm.
So,
Not only did you write that, you also said that a second ago.
I
Like
said
2
it
times
and
even.
read it
Whoa.
and felt it and thought it, and I just, Sometimes Megan needs to be reminded that
Mm.
life's just not always fun. That you can just make fun of me.
Right.
She likes to do that.
Yeah, that's right. I
but
just love.
this is sacred space, right,
That's
Katie?
I'd like to meet that guy.
Yeah.
He's great. He's great.
Where
I
does
thought
he
he was
live?
the youth pastor, and then I was talking to him, and
Pennsylvania.
I said, "How do you listen to so many
Yeah.
podcasts?" And he drives. He
a
like
commuter, right?
yeah, he lays
Yeah.
cable or something like that. Which is
Something.
yeah. And so it was like an hour one way, an hour back.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, is that what you do for a living?" He says, "Yeah, I'm just a volunteer.
I'm the cable guy.
I'm like the number 2 guy."
is
And I'm
the
like,
cable
what a
guy.
Wow.
great number 2 guy.
Wow. Thank you. That's
Hey,
awesome.
I asked on the last episode for people to send in if they are part of a network, because I want to try to find out where the really good youth ministry networks are.
Right.
And Lou Zambito from Dermont, New Jersey did, Michael Bright from Cheshireville, Indiana, Corey Honeyman from Rochester, New York, Clayton Law from New Brighton, Minnesota.
Nice.
Got these guys sent in that they're part. Oh, here's another one. Michael Suter from Gentry, Arizona. So if you are part of a Happening network, I'm starting a folder for Happening
That is
Networks.
powerful.
And that's the title of
What
it.
do you-
Is that
what are you
be
gonna do
on
with that
the-
folder?
On the website?
No, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Are you gonna lose the folder or keep this one?
I'm thinking that here's my thought.
I'm
My
ready.
thought is that when we take the Youth Ministry Garage on the road,
Yes.
Yeah.
our road show. Have you talked to Ron about that yet?
Yeah. I have an
They'll
RV.
probably want to come.
I know that'd be great.
Mhm.
Okay, well, maybe you have to do it
He
next
can be the
summer.
driver.
He can be the-
Oh,
Give me a roadie.
perfect.
The roadie.
If people knew that Ron won, he would be the driver,
He would?
and he would be the
He
roadie,
just
Yeah.
suggested.
and he would laugh the
suggested it
whole
first.
time and never make fun of any of us.
Never.
No.
Yeah.
People don't think we're hilarious.
He'd be the safest guy in
He's
the
like
whole
the
place.
perfect person.
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ron makes fun of me
Yeah.
sometimes, but I deserve it.
Mhm.
Just kidding. No, he doesn't.
Look at him.
All right. We also have 2 additions to the Youth Ministry Hall of Fame, which means these are people that have done. They're basically
Yes.
rewinders.
Right.
We have Jeff Boos from Chesapeake, Virginia,
Chesapeake, those are good
and
cookies.
Dave Gomez from Central Point, Oregon.
You like those cookies?
Always
Well-
related back to food.
Always back.
I understand
Hey,
that.
we need to. I'm going to make a note to Seth on this.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
On our Hall of Fame, we need last names.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
like the fact that we just have first names on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, yeah.
It's just last names are helpful that when we get letters in and stuff like that. And by the way, Seth, who is the executive producer of the Youth Ministry Garage, Megan, he's moving out here. He's driving a U-Haul as we speak.
I
He had a
heard.
flat tire this morning.
Oh.
He twittered about
Oh.
it. He twittered about it.
Flat
And he's
tire,
going
baby.
to arrive on Saturday, just in 2 days. And then we're going to try to have a live show. We're changing the backdrop.
Wow.
We're going to have, oh my
That's
Are
goodness.
you gonna have a
Oh
little
my
Seth
goodness.
party? Are we gonna have a little Seth party?
Maybe.
We should have something.
Maybe.
Well, I
Kids
think
in
we
the
should have.
pool?
Here's a little inside. I'm hoping Seth's not listening right.
Okay.
You know when it goes
No, he
live.
watches all of it.
But he loves sushi, so it might be nice to have some sushi out. Because while we were in Pennsylvania, you guys had to leave early,
Yeah.
and Seth and I,
Oh, yeah.
Had a lot of sushi.
we had a lot of sushi. So just
great.
thought sushi.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Well, he is going to be at the U Specialties. He's going to produce the 200 show live.
Wow.
Speaking of which, Megan, U
Yes.
Specialties, which you and I know very, very well,
Yes.
they are our primary sponsor.
Oh my gosh, I'm not surprised at all by that.
The Youth
Especially
Ministry Garage.
because there's a gigantic.
I
Now,
did
it's
notice
very
they got the biggest board behind
They're our
us.
primary sponsors.
Right.
And then we have fabulous secondary sponsors.
Uh-huh.
Leader Treks with Doug Franklin.
Wow.
Youth Ministry 360 with
Great.
Les and Andy. Azusa Pacific University, where these 2 are getting their masters.
Are you?
And Remedy Live, who hosts us.
Remedy. Remedy's a great place.
Yeah, and we don't do many plugs for Remedy. Now that Seth is going to be out here, who came from Remedy,
Yes.
I feel a little guilty that we stole him from Remedy.
Right.
So we're going to do more plugs.
I think that's a wise
So
decision.
you might point out that every youth pastor who visits soulmedicmedia.com, that's soulmedicmedia.com, will get a Remedy Live 2 gigabyte thumb drive if they join the Remedy Live Ministry Network.
Ooh, that's a
Cool.
bonus.
All right, there you go. And you wonder why I don't read there.
Yes.
That's a mouthful. My name is Kelsey Gale from Nashville, Tennessee. I just recently moved away from the church. I worked for 5 years. God sent me to Nashville because of a new design job, but my heart is in youth ministry. I'm currently enrolled with Youth Sphere
Oh. No
Nice.
wonder this question got pushed
first.
through.
That's right. YouthSphere.com, which Megan did
Yeah.
one of the
She did one of the sessions. I
One of the
saw
12
that session.
sessions.
Yes, I
and it's a
did.
very
Great.
good one. very good one. We actually had it on the. Me and Megan are about the only two on there that are not doctorates. Everybody else has a doctor.
Yeah, everyone else is here. Doug and I, right about there.
Well,
Yeah.
Top tier.
Top tier. Oh,
Top tier,
Top
guys.
tier.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I've already started to get more involved with the church here in my own town. My question is, since this move, it has just been made more clear to me how much my heart and passion is with youth ministry. How do you cope with leaving a youth group that you were so involved in? And do you ever really have to move on from those relationships in that position at the church? Just needing some encouragement right now. It's been very hard for me to leave them, and I'm trying to make a new home here with this youth group. Thank you so very much. Love watching the podcast. If any of y'all need a graphic designer, I am your girl. Which I think we do.
Wow.
We do need a graphic designer.
Let's give her
Look at
a
our
call.
backdrop.
We do. You're hired.
That is awesome.
And Meg, I thought since you left your church
Yes.
about a year ago
Yep.
to come to God's church, where
They're not all God's church?
Yeah, well, this one is a little bit
Especially God's church.
more. Yeah, because
I think
Megan and I get to
God
do
loves the gathering.
the following.
Oh my word.
That was on purpose.
That was funny.
So how would you answer her question? Because you've just gone through a transition.
Yeah. One of the things that I loved was transitions. First of all, I mean they're never easy. They're always hard, and I like to look at those transitions in the way that they're not like a death, like a funeral. They're not even like that. They're more like you are welcome in my life at any time. The door is always open. You can call. You have my cell phone, and that's what I did with the kids from the bridge, is where I used to be. And they're actually what I would wonder with her is how close is she in proximity to that?
Like physically.
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like there was a distance there.
Yeah, and if there's a distance, that changes things a little bit.
Kind of creates a natural space.
Yeah, which might be nice. If there's a natural space, there's this natural room to breathe a little bit more. Where I lived 5 minutes from my last church, so the kids are still in my life, but it's changed. And I think if there's this natural space, well then, just be open and say we are welcome in each other's life at any time, and just let them know that.
And that's one of the great things about youth ministry is that we don't have to stop ministering to the kids, even though I feel like Matt was in my youth group. I minister to him all the time.
Yeah, well.
And are you 40 yet?
This year, 40.
December
Really?
12th,
Yep.
13th, 14th, 16th.
That's impressive though, Field. Just that you had the week. That's I don't know.
It's the day after Taurus. There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, it's longevity of relationships, and
You're
not
still
all
trying
of
to
them
let go of
last.
some of your
No.
relationships.
I'm trying to just stop ministering to some people, but they keep crawling back.
Coming back for more.
And crawling is what they do.
Well, I just can't. I can only avoid so many emails. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Totally.
So,
Well, I think in the second to last sentence, can you read the last little bit again?
if any y'all need a graphic designer, I'm your girl.
that's
Maybe
not-
the one before.
No, yeah, but talking about, I think the only reason why it's a good idea to cut off some relationships is, one, if it's hindering the place that you left before, if you maintaining some relationships keeps the new person from connecting,
great point.
then that could be a tough situation, because regardless of what happened, and it sounds like you left under a positive situation, that you want to set that new person up to win. And so if you are still making an effort, I mean, what you had described is you would put it on the students to say, hey, if you want to come talk to me, you can always come talk to me. And so that might be more appropriate rather than seeking out relationships, keeping them going. But the other reason, too, is that you might want to consider easing off or backing off. Of course, you already mentioned the space issue, but the distance between the two is that you can only have so many relationships in your life. I mean, you can only have so many people that you're ministering to, and so if you want to plug into a new ministry, trying to keep up all these other relationships, that might keep you from doing that.
Yeah.
And that might be okay. You might want to just ease in slowly to a new ministry and still keep the other things going for a while, and that's fine too. But you just want to know what you're choosing so that something doesn't happen to you on accident because you feel guilty for leaving these guys, and so because I feel guilty, I'm going to keep this going out of guilt.
Yeah.
That would be a bad reason to try and keep stuff going. So that's my thoughts.
That's good.
That's
good.
great.
And Kelsey, we're going to send you from Youth Specialties, Mark Matlock's new book and DVD series called Why Not Now? It's for teenagers,
Now,
6-week
like smoking
curriculum.
weed?
No, it's about living like Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Close.
Yeah.
Right.
Real
Which-
close.
It's like a satirical question. Why not now? Well,
I'll tell you,
I was just
I'll
on
tell
the
you
would
why
get
not.
I just
high
got off
right
the phone
now.
with Madeline. We were on the phone for 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's calling you on.
It sounds like you guys needed some weed.
No, with Matlock,
Why not?
here's the deal. I love him,
So-
love talking to him,
Yep.
but we have this agenda that we usually don't get to. We catch up for the first hour,
Right.
and then we start talking. We talk about the podcast and
Mm.
new specialties and the convention and new products that are coming out and blah 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 and West
Yeah.
Palooza and all this.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is. I know. That's what I told him. I said I don't like to work.
When you're up there in the ivory tower, you don't have to do more.
That's right. That's right.
And it is a nice
Megan, I like to make jokes that he's retired, even though he's
He's-
as busy as
right.
he's ever been. Of
Yeah,
course.
yes.
But calling him a youth ministry mogul or the ivory tower or
Mhm.
you know
Retired. Right.
golf
Well,
player.
let me just tell you, Megan literally is my boss at the other.
Mm.
We really haven't had our discussion about identifying roles and like who's in charge of the youth ministry because both of us have been doing different
Right,
things. But
right.
let me tell you, here's how I knew that. Oh, Megan's apparently in charge because
Here it comes. Here it
like
comes.
on a Tuesday night,
The
I
other
get
shoe.
a text from her at about 11 o'clock, and it says, "I want to
10.
run. I want to run a date by you." It was 11:02. I want to run a date by you. The reason I knew is because she goes to bed
I
like
was
at
gonna
8
say
o'clock.
you're awake.
That one night I was up very late.
So I
to
get a
text her.
text, Ron, I'd like you to pay attention to this one. Okay, I get a
Thank you,
text
Ron.
from Megan at 11:02 saying, "I want to run a date by you to see if we can do a pool party with the teenagers at my house.
Yeah.
Let me know what
Yeah.
a good day would be." The next day at 9 o'clock,
AM.
9 o'clock a.m.,
Plenty
uh,
of time.
she sends an email to
Plenty
our
of time.
pastor with the date and the time and the location.
It's initiative.
You
It
know
is.
what? That's what I think. Thank you.
It's called
You know
get
what?
it done. Right
That's what I'm
there.
saying.
If
I
you're
learned
gonna
it from
slack-
that. He was my boss for a short time.
If you're gonna slack
He
off,
said, "You go in, you go in." You know what I'm saying? You make it happen. Call the ball is what I like to say.
call the
Call
ball.
the ball, is it see the ball? Call the ball, I don't know. what it
Never
is.
heard that before.
It's from Top Gun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a flight reference.
Thank you.
Anyway, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, we were.
We're still, yeah, we are totally.
So were you a sermon? Are we gonna have it here, or what's the deal?
No, I couldn't make it. I had plans.
He,
Well, you were
he
throwing
had
the material to the party.
plans.
Plans.
He like was out to breakfast.
Oh, he had to go
eating
mountain bike.
pancakes. I don't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. Yeah, he had to go mountain bike.
What are you doing this
exactly.
weekend?
I got to go
Just-
lift weights at the club.
Just counting my divisions of ministry.
Yeah.
Michael Bright from Schererville, Indiana, who
Mm.
wrote in as is part of a network. He also has a question. Recently read a blog post from a pretty well-known author that said a youth pastor over the age of 25 shouldn't be hanging out with students in any capacity because it's creepy. I really don't agree with this. What are your thoughts? Can a youth pastor hang with groups of students to help mentor and be a living example? Can students and pastors do events to, quote, live life together, unquote? I don't think pastors and students should just hang out to hang out, but if the students can grow from it, I think it's fine. But you tell me what you think. I'd like to know who that well-known pastor is.
Seriously.
Wow.
Well, and to be so definitive to say ever, you know, if they ever
Yeah.
do that, I mean, obviously there's some truth to that. When you are 21 taking, 5 kids to the beach to hang out, I mean, that's different than being 31 married with kids and doing that all the time. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I mean, I think relational ministry is great and hanging out and having coffee and connecting. I mean, that's one of my favorite things. But there is something there. I mean, there is something there. When we've had volunteers before, through the years ago that, we're older and single, and it got to be a little
Yeah.
bit weird.
Creepy would
You
be
know,
a word at times.
Creepy would be a word at times, and so there is some weirdness. But to be so definitive like that is a total drag. And I'm a big fan of being definitive.
I'd like to know who that was and what that blog post was. So, Michael, send that in. I'd like to see the link of
Yeah,
that. 'Cause
let's
I think it's a
let's
stupid
attack that
comment, to
person.
be honest.
I think so too.
I'm okay. So, because I'm 49 and went mountain bike riding with 3 of the guys in my small group.
Right.
Wasn't creepy.
Wasn't creepy.
Well,
Well, maybe
I
they
think
thought
for
it was.
volunteers
I
in
wore
general.
spandex. Is there anything
Oh,
wrong with that?
creepy alert.
no shirt.
And a pink bandana.
That's fine. I think
That's
for
just-
volunteers, I mean, there's definitely
Pastor Doug, you're
boundaries, no
supposed to
matter
do
what
this,
age
this,
you are.
and
Even
this.
our younger volunteers at 20 and 21, we have to teach them to set good, healthy boundaries as well.
Yeah, everybody needs boundaries.
So at every age, every stage, there's great, healthy boundaries. And I think you just need to communicate that to your volunteers. You know, make sure that you're all on the same page. And I think there's room for accountability in this area of just you know, sharing stories of who you're hanging out with and that kind of thing. But I don't.
And when your kids are school age kids, you spend more of your free time at home with your kids or doing stuff, kids activities. I mean, that's
Yeah.
There's also a season of life element where
Well, your time with students changes. Mine looks a lot different. A lot of times it's with
Totally.
when I'm with my kids.
Right.
I have students with me.
right,
or
Yeah.
but that's
babysitting for me, or
totally.
Right.
So, too definitive, too strong. That's a ridiculous statement.
My only caveat would be it's if there's any doubt, you know, would be, and I think we'd all agree with this, is get another adult with you. You know, have two
Yeah,
adults. It's
sure.
just you're always safe when there's two. Then there's
Yeah.
So there's two creepy people.
there's two
Dudes,
creeps.
spandex riding bikes.
Yeah.
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 Hey, you know what I just realized that I left in my office is Leader Treks is doing another one of those retreats in Breckenridge,
Wow.
and they printed out the detail. I printed out the details and
I
left it
wanted to
there.
go to that.
I know. There's another one. So go on their website at leadertreks.org, and darn it, I'll say it next time. It's $99. Breckenridge.
It was like really cheap for like a really awesome set of
Yeah,
stuff.
Wow.
exactly. They're doing it again. It must
In
have
beautiful
gone.
Colorado.
Yeah.
So well.
Wow. And you can ski.
Market
What's the time of
research,
year? Do you
maybe?
know that
What's
at
the
all?
deal?
Yeah,
It's
is it-
September.
Oh,
It's
it's
September.
so
It's
pretty.
like
Nice, nice, though, right?
Don't you
middle
think?
to the
Fall
late of
colors?
September.
Yeah?
Yes, yes, yes.
Maybe not ski weather, I'm thinking. But
Yeah.
mountain biking in spandex would be great.
As long as you can surf the web, what else do you need?
Good insight.
That's
There you
super
go.
insightful.
Jace Nichols, Columbia, Tennessee. We haven't even talked about where Josh is.
Yeah, where is Josh?
Josh is high
He's on
rolling
a-
it on a
He's on a
cruise.
cruise.
Oh.
He's on a cruise.
He's on a cruise.
Yeah, all
He-
expenses paid.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, his parents. Well, you know how cheap he is.
Yeah, totally.
So let's.
That hasn't changed over the years?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you and him are a lot alike in that.
Oh, that's so
you.
jacked up. It's so
I'm not
best.
even close. to
Okay, let me
it.
just say something. I need to say something.
You're
right now.
generous. Cheap and generous are not opposites.
I love when you come up with these things constantly. You know you do
What's
this.
that?
But you come up with these like oxymoron, juxtaposition kind of things constantly, Matt. But Fields, here's the deal.
Paradoxical.
20, yeah, paradoxical of them.
Okay, 20.
Yeah. So 10 years ago,
Okay.
whatever,
Okay.
2000, 12 years ago, exactly, when you hired me at Saddleback,
Yeah.
he has this thing about I'm cheap because I had a water incident in my brand new house. I freaked out and I apparently didn't pay the guy right or something. Some
Okay.
story leaked.
Let's
and ever since
let's
then,
be honest. Are
I'm
you
cheap.
are you a little more on the thrifty side?
No, I have so changed because I was confronted by my best friend 12 years ago, and so ever since then, now I give like there's an empty bucket full.
Overflowing.
Thank you.
There is.
Overflowing.
Slingshot was paying you so much money to find you
You
best.
specialties.
Well, they were, yeah.
All right, this is from Jason Nichols from Columbia, Tennessee. I begin by telling how amazing this podcast has been for me.
Mm.
It takes me back to the days I was doing youth ministry at my first church. I was an intern, 4 or 5 of us on staff, and we were all close friends and had some great meetings. It may or may not make sense, but that's why I love to watch you. I get to laugh,
What
but
doesn't
also
make
some
sense?
good input. That's what people like. Feel like they're at a bad staff meeting.
That's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
Speaking of which, did you go to staff meeting yesterday?
No, you?
No, that's
One
why I
of
got
us-
a text saying
one of
I
us-
missed you, and I thought you went.
Oh no, I
Oh.
just missed you out of my
Well,
heart.
you're
The
out.
followers have staff meetings?
The Halloween.
Halloween?
Yeah, we have staff meetings every.
And there's some key volunteers
Yes.
like Megan and I. I've been to more meetings than Megan.
True,
Um,
but you're retired and I'm not.
as a ministry mogul.
Uh,
So here's the question. It goes into a long detail about some conflict in the church, which I don't think we need to read the whole deal.
Yeah.
But here's her question that I think we can get into the essence of it. Should I confront the music minister about this, or should I just let it go? So.
Well, we need to know
it's-
what this
No,
is.
this is not that big a deal.
Oh, then don't confront him.
All right, next question.
Okay, moving on.
Justin.
It's not that
Glad we
big
can
a
help.
deal.
No, I think if you ever have an issue with somebody, it doesn't have to be like a huge, big deal, confrontational conversation. We were just talking about this. Like, If you have somebody with that you've got any kind of something with, even if it's something small, just go to them and have a conversation.
Short accounts.
Well, you know
Totally.
what? As I was reading this, I thought Katie will have good insight on it.
Mm.
So, should I confront about this or let it go? I feel as though to be a man of integrity, I should confront him in a loving way, of course. My wife, because she's concerned about people turning on me and possibly leading to me getting asked to be stepped down, feels like I should just look past it. Thanks for your help. I hope I did not bore Matt and Josh too much with the background, but if it means anything to them, there's a lot I didn't share. I plan on going to YS Palooza in Atlanta and taking some leaders. That is about the travel and everything we can afford right now. Oh, actually, I know it's just for people to Atlanta. YS is trying something new. They're our primary sponsor, so we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Because we just got a phone. They're training one price, training their whole team. Bring as many volunteers as you want.
One price.
I think it's a pretty good idea.
That's so generous.
Yeah.
What does
Wow.
that mean? So like,
So it's
The price is,
$11,000.
yeah, I was going to say.
It's like 200 and something, but bring as many volunteers. You know, it's like $50 a day per person. So if you bring 4 people,
You're covered.
you got it
That's
covered.
cool.
I forget exactly what the price is, but
That's
they're
cool.
trying something new.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Well, this sounds like a serious thing.
It does.
If
It's
he
gonna
might
have to
confront
sit down.
somebody, and then that
Yeah.
person will be.
Well, she was kind of talking. He was kind of talking about how dysfunctional the church is, and there's like they invited the pastor, but told the pastor, the new pastor, that he has to wear a tie and read out of the King James version, and there's been some
Oh, yeah.
chaos and hidden agendas and people getting upset, and there's a lot in there. But I thought, without going into all the detail of it, what we can talk about that I think is significant to every youth worker listening is conflict. Do I avoid it or do I deal with it?
Well, the two things that come to mind for me right away is is about you and about the other person. When it comes to make this decision on to say something or not, if your bitterness factor is going to be high, and you just can't deal with it without saying something, then there's a good chance that you really ought to say something. But then coupled with that is, what are the chances of that person, are they really going to be able to hear what it is you have to say? Because, I mean, even, and I'm talking about if you go to say it with the best heart, without being attacking, without being judging, without trying to hurt, that if you go there under the best circumstances with the purest heart, do you have a chance of being hurt? Because if you don't, then you shouldn't say anything. I mean, pearls before the swine. You don't want to waste. It does no good. It does no good. And so, but you can't just do it. Both of those are important, because you can't just say something because you're holding on to it. And well, I need to do this for myself just so I don't feel bitter anymore. No, write a letter and burn it in the fire, or
Totally.
tell your spouse, or do something to get it off your chest. But don't go and confront that person because you have this need to have to. I think it's part of it. I think that's part of what should motivate you to do it. But then the other part is, will they hear what you're saying?
Well, it's a music minister, so they're working together. Right, so there's a team element dynamic that
Day
I'm going to
in,
see
day
this
out.
person on a regular basis.
Right.
But I understand. Why it was an interesting question to me is the relational dynamics within the family. Because now all of
Yeah.
a sudden your wife is concerned that you might be asked to step down, which is pushing financial issues and buttons and the safety of our family, the whole bit.
Right.
You know, so it's easier just to sweep it under the rug and don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
I just think it is one of those deals where a lot of people deal with this.
I hate the word confrontation. I mean, I know that it's a big word, and sometimes that's what needs to
Confrontation?
happen.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I just
Confrontations are great.
No, it's
we
not
need
that-
to change your attitude.
sometimes it needs to happen, but even in like team scenarios, I think that we shouldn't be afraid to just have conversations with each other of like, hey, this has happened, where we're honest and upfront, and it doesn't have to be about I'm confronting you. It doesn't have to be the drama. Confrontation to me is such a drama word. It's
Yeah,
like
that's a
we
good
are
point.
going to sit down and have this conversation.
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you're working in a team setting, I feel like there, the little conversations each day, the back and forth. I mean, that's part of team. That's part of family.
Yeah, if there's some nudges that can work.
Well,
Sure.
it also
Sure.
gives
And
that
sometimes
other
it doesn't.
person an opportunity to to make amends, to say they're sorry, to explain their point of view.
Yeah.
I was just confronted recently by a nationally known speaker that all of you would know.
Matt McGill.
I was at this event.
About hanging out with students.
He had just spoke.
In spandex?
He just spoke.
Sorry.
And I was wrapping up the whole program, and I made a comment that was unrelated to his message, but he felt like I devalued his whole message. But I was kind of doing my closing shtick that I do pretty much at the end of all youth ministry training.
And so what if you...
Well, it bothered him. It hurt him. And we're buddies. And so he just said, hey, it's just...
Yeah.
I mean, he lives in a different state. It's not where we hang out all the time, but
but
I
you've
like
got a
this guy a
You
lot.
value.
Yeah.
And he just we were with a bunch of people. We're going to dinner, and he said, "Hey, before we go inside, can I just share something that's been bothering me?"
Cool.
And it was great. I was okay with
Was
it.
he right or was he wrong?
No, he was wrong. Yeah, because what I said is I said I'm.
Sorry, that's the way.
I've given that illustration, that closing kind of day illustration, about 1,000 times in 30 years, and I didn't make the connection between how that could be perceived, and I was able to, say my piece, not be defensive. I just said, oh man, I'm really sorry.
Sure,
I've been living with that.
How would you explain the difference between being defensive and explaining, giving an answer?
That's a good question.
So when you get confronted,
Well, I think
what's the difference
defensive
between
is,
defensiveness
to me,
and
defensive. I would love more time to think about this, but defensive for me is I want to prove that I'm right and you're wrong.
Oh, right. I can see. So why is that?
Somebody saying it's your defensive all the time.
Oh my gosh.
You need a middle name. It's defensive.
I would like to say attacking. Even defensive isn't good enough for me.
Anyway, I just know that the people that are part of our youth ministry community
But follow
are
that thought of-
surrounded with conflict all the time.
Totally. And above you, next to you,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Okay, but follow that up because we were making a joke and it was very funny.
Yeah.
But so defensive is when I'm more concerned about being right or wrong. Giving an answer means I'm more concerned about the relationship rather than that specific issue.
Well, I wasn't trying to win anything in
Right.
that. I thought, here's a guy who's been hurt, but the reality is I had no intent to hurt him. I think I was misunderstood, and honestly, I wasn't paying enough attention to his message to
make the connection.
I didn't do a good job, so I apologize for any. And I think for him, we were close enough where that really bothered him because it felt like I was going after his kind of one of his core life messages, and so you go after somebody's message, you go after them.
So did you tell him to build a bridge and get over it?
Yeah, that sounds.
I said, if you have any problem with this, you can call my agent, Matt McGill.
Yeah. I was just thinking of something that I'd be curious if you're going to disagree with me on this.
I never disagree.
I
with
know.
people, especially you, May.
Right. We're always on the same page. But I was thinking of years ago, somebody confronted me. I don't even remember what it was about, but I'll never forget it.
Being
It was
stingy?
What? No, Dad. It wasn't about being stingy. That had my gum in
I
it too.
know.
Yeah. But it was so cool. His name was Andy, and he sat across the table from me, and I could tell there was something worked up in him. And all he said was, "I just want you to know, I value you so much. I'm your fan. I love you. I'm committed to you for our friendship forever. There's something going on inside of me, and if I have done anything to hurt you or offend you, I'm sorry. But I also want to let you know something that happened between us that hurt me, and want to just talk to you about it." So I'm entering into this
No,
meeting.
it wasn't Andy Brazelton.
It wasn't Andy Brazelton. Okay, it was. I'm just kidding. But I'll never forget entering that conflict, knowing that I knew there was something an issue. I was not looking forward to the meeting, probably like this person too, and I was thrilled with the way he introduced the whole thing. It's like any part of me that might have been defensive, and I was.
Yeah, that's
The
great.
gates were down, and my heart was open. I'm ready to hear, because he really started with the affirmation of the relationship. So I don't know what this relationship's like, but
But
Might be a
maybe
way to start out.
start
That's a
with
good
some-
preface
the-
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with whatever the stuff that you can own.
Yeah.
Try to own it
Yeah.
first.
Or even just the affirmation. If there's nothing
Yeah.
for you to own,
We
Yeah.
love each other.
yeah, we
Okay, let's
value.
talk.
We're on the same team, and I care about you, and whatever.
We're going to send
Well
Jace Nichols,
We're not.
Columbia, Tennessee, from Youth Ministry 360 mag. There's this new book out called New. First
it's
Steps
really
for New
good.
Christ Followers.
Wow.
We've been talking about it for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's good. It's new and it's white.
And it's
White
new.
as snow.
What are they gonna do in a year from now?
Right.
It's called new. Do you get it?
The new.
Right. It's the new.
I like it. I read through it.
Renew.
Did you read through it?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great
Is it good?
resource.
Should I use this?
Wow.
It's definitely, I mean, there's
Just
a
seems
lot
like a
in
lot,
it.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think you could probably even pick a few, things to begin with. Maybe give some starting points, even though, I mean, obviously
First
page
steps
one.
for
But,
new Christ
you know what I'm
followers.
saying?
Yeah.
Definitely high school. I mean, a little bit
More high school than junior high.
Well, and what we have found with all the stuff with Youth Ministry 360 is it's really good stuff.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
It's great. It is actually a great resource. I really like it.
This is cool.
Here, you remember, Megan, that this is sacred space you're in?
yeah, I am. Wow.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that back up.
You could
though.
join
It's
us
hard when you
then.
have all this flash in front of you.
No,
It is, and I just got a great new book by
That's right.
360. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there is a question about just first name only. Justin from New England. We'll just do that.
I know him.
Cool.
Okay.
Could be
I'm
Justin.
officially a Rewind member
Oh,
all the
way
way
to go.
back to 00, which is
Wow.
A little bit redundant.
yeah.
but that's
You don't
okay.
need to tell us that.
Yeah.
They're just Rewind. We know,
Yeah,
but Megan
but-
might not.
I did know that. I just happen to know it.
Somebody's
Yeah.
brand new, they might not have known, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm full-time youth pastor, and one of my volunteers is the senior pastor's daughter.
Mm.
She's
Volunteers.
great with the kids, and some of the girls really love her and follow her. But she misses as many youth group functions as she makes. She doesn't go to staff meetings, and I really feel like she isn't plugged in. Many times she'll sit in the back of the room on her phone or playing with other sponsors' babies. My senior pastor told me he's okay with me asking her to step down, but I get the feeling he really isn't. What should I do?
This goes back to confront.
Okay, so how would you do it?
First nudge.
First nudge number one.
That sounds like the nudges. Some of us don't have the nudge gear, by the way. So it's hard to tell people to nudge.
Say more about the nudge, Matt.
Seriously. I don't know.
Well,
It's some
I think-
foreign thing I don't understand.
That should be the title of the show. Some of us don't have the nudge gear.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if she's one of your volunteers, you're obviously holding your volunteer team to some standards and some expectations, which is a totally okay thing. And if she's falling short of that, just like any other volunteer, you would have a conversation with her, and you might ask her to step down, or you might ask her to take a break if the season is busy, or if she can't do it right now, or whatever. So I think, even if the senior pastor isn't okay with it, I don't know. I mean, I
Well,
think
you're called to be a leader.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay,
think
but there
it's
is
okay.
dynamics though. We're talking
Sure.
dynamics of a pastor's kid.
And maybe a
Yes.
smaller church where.
Well,
I mean,
this
yeah.
pastor's kid maybe has been there a long time
Sure.
where they have had these luxuries like I own this place.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so that why do I go to staff here? My dad at staff meeting. I grew up with staff meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I could lead the staff meeting.
I mean, maybe there's
Yeah.
some things like, especially the distracting elements. If there's some, being on the phone or if playing with the kids is a bad thing. If there's some distracting things, maybe your laundry list is this big, and man, if she just did all these things, she'd be a perfect leader. Maybe you shorten the laundry list to some of the essentials.
Sure.
If she's doing some great things in your ministry. I mean, if you have a leader that the other girls like and are connected to, I mean, that is a really valuable thing. And it's
Yeah.
not like those kinds of leaders grow on trees.
Sure.
And, I mean, jokingly and half seriously, I'll say, sure, the Bible says God doesn't show favoritism, but Jacob I loved, Esau I hated.
right.
And so, I mean, I think pastors' kids, they've been around a long time. Like, why wouldn't you make some concessions? I mean, I'm all for having a rule and drawing a box and having some standards, but every situation's a little bit different.
Sure.
And so if there is some distraction, then you got to deal with the distraction. If some of your other leaders are like, well, she doesn't go to the meetings, then then you could say, yeah, she goes to, you can cover, and if it's okay, then it's okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go to the point of cutting her. It sounds like you've already been there since you went and talked to the senior pastor about that. That's great. I think that's
one of the tough pieces about questions is we don't know all the steps
Yes.
that are done. We don't know if this is the last straw. We don't know if there's been 3.
You will increase
a
your
good conversation
influence.
with her might be something that she needs. I think there are times where there are situations where there's been concessions for so long and nobody is willing to, hey, let's have a conversation about this and call her on some of the stuff. Not like
she might need a nudge.
She might need a nudge.
Most of us do. Most of us do.
I mean, I know what you're saying. Don't cover her with 25 items. Cover her with 1 item or 2 items.
Right.
And give her some steps towards, hey, here's how we can get better. Here's how you can be a great volunteer, or an even better volunteer, or whatever.
But the more inflexible you are, the more you'll limit your leadership. You'll limit your influence.
Ooh,
That's a great word. Did you guys catch that?
Say that again.
Well, I was just going to say is that if you're in, I think
more-
you're going to have such a response to that. But if you're inflexible, you're going to limit your leadership. And
Wow.
so if you're going to be a good leader, you need to be flexible. But flexible doesn't mean you
Let them stand
capitulate. What's the other word for that? That you
I don't
totally
even know
cave
what that
in.
means.
That you totally cave in and just let everything happen.
Sure.
You still need to lead,
Mhm.
but you need to be able to lead people who are different than you. You need to be able to lead people
Sure.
who color outside the lines a little bit,
Right.
and people that might rub you the wrong way or not love all the rules. Because if you only go for leaders that are following everything that you say,
right.
well, you're headed towards a rut. I mean, you're headed towards a ministry that's going to lack creativity. And I'm not saying to you specifically this situation, but if you are only looking for people that will fit your little mold, your mold's
good.
not that great.
Yeah.
Good. Your mold's not that great.
You know what?
That's another title.
That's a
Seth.
great title.
But volunteers and
Mold.
students, I mean, leading both, they're
Yeah.
individuals, and so you are leading them as individuals, and they do have you're on your own care plan with each volunteer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a good feature.
Did we say crap on the show?
We, the Christians, don't. But go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, it would bug the crap out of me if one of my volunteers was on her cell phone texting, and
And
the
that's a drag.
students.
Sure.
That's a total drag.
That's a
so I
drag.
can see, yes, have a conversation about that
Yeah.
alone and
Yeah.
see how she responds.
Yeah. Now that I work for you as a volunteer,
Right.
Just
I
remember.
remember that.
Yeah.
day
He's the
off.
worst one to have in a meeting.
Really?
Oh, you're not running it. Oh,
Yeah, it's tough.
Jiminy.
You say that.
Hey,
Okay, last question.
was that my
Billy?
wife or was
Was
that
that
Kathy? Who was it?
I'm not sure what that was. I think it was my 6-year-old.
The left
Billy Porter from Friendswood, Texas.
Friendswood.
This is the second year to have a student leadership team for our group, and we are adding in 4 new leaders for the fall. Since this is fairly new for our group, our first year was a little
Amoebic?
amoebic.
Anemic.
Anemic. Yeah.
Yeah.
In what the
Anemic might be
leadership
like a
team-
single cell.
Yeah.
Versus a
Would
multiple.
actually look like.
Mom like that was it.
Yeah.
Any biology humor.
You know what? Seriously.
You can get Ron on. This year, I really want our student leaders to have a focus and a direction. We have a student leadership retreat for just them as we focus on the coming year in the role. We're going to talk about Megan's parenting skills. What are some aspects of student leadership that I should focus on? What are the main points I need to help them understand as student leaders? Thanks for the help. I always enjoy the podcast, and it's nice to know that I'm not the only ADD minister out there. So what are some things we should focus on? Well, one of the things I thought is we are going to send him from LeaderTrex this for those new leaders. There's 3,
That's a good call.
so you might have to buy one. Student leaders start
But you
here,
would want your whole
assessments
leadership
and
team to go
tools
through it.
to help you grow as a leader, plus a profile and growth strategy, a student guide. We're going to send that to you from LeaderTrex.
Maybe leader trucks could just send them a 4th one.
That's a good idea.
Like, even though it's a 3-pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see if
Why
I
don't
can
you
make
just
a note
commit
about
to
that.
Yeah.
You can,
All my spare time.
You have nudge.
Wow.
Okay, so
No
what do
shot of
you
making
focus
that.
on, Matt? You're
Well,
just
the
starting
first,
your leadership.
I know we just got I've been there a little over a year and a half, and didn't feel like it was the right time to start a leadership program until now.
Until you took them to an incredible conference.
Until I took them to an incredible conference. But we just last weekend, I literally printed out 11 student leader brochures. I mean, they were not fancy. Literally thought I'd hand out 8 of them, and if I got 8, that would be great. And a ton of students came up and were excited, and we had to print more, and it was really cool. Just got the first application back, yesterday, and the second one came in today, which is so cool. But it's so it's tough. I mean, I'm asking myself the same question, in that we're rebooting. There's many pieces of our ministry that aren't up and running yet and aren't going well. I mean, which is great. But to me, the two things that I'm thinking about focusing on is, one, I want them to understand our vision, why we do what we do. But I want them to understand it in a practical way, in the sense that, hey, when you show up to small group, this is what small group's all about, so you can contribute and show up and play. The weekend, this is why we do the weekend. So I want to explain why we do what we do, so they can be on board with what's happening.
Let me just say this: if it's year 2, have some of the kids that went through it year 1
share some,
reteach it, so that you're not always teaching it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's great. That's great. But then the other thing is, I'm just hammering servanthood. I mean, we're this is just what we've done for 20 years. That when we talk about leaders, you're really a servant.
Yeah.
And maybe there's that 2% of humanity, or 5%. That's that capital L. Up front, charismatic, owns the room. Presidential candidates. I mean, sure, there's that small percentage of those kinds of leaders. Whatever that is, whatever you want to call that. But we've never built leadership programs that just focused on those two. Instead, to understand that leadership is about influence, and every Christian is called to be an influencer, and the way that you do that is by serving everybody around you. Yeah. So ours, it's really a servant leadership team, and in that, we're going to catch that 3% or that 2%. And if they don't want to be a part of that, then they can go lead, Coca-Cola Corporation somewhere, and wake up at 80 and hate life. But that was a little bit of a tangent.
That's a really good answer.
Wow.
Well, so vision, servanthood. I would say a third would be, you want to challenge them to own some piece of ministry, that showing them that they can lead, even if it's not as good as one of the adults would do, but they feel like they're contributing, they feel good about that. At Saddleback, Josh's brilliant idea about you own the weekend, where 4 or 5 weeks of the year he lets the leaders of a school create the whole program, and they take so much ownership and pride in that. Numbers spike. It's great, but it's a simple illustration of kids don't want to sit on the sideline, they want to get in the game. But for those that are developing student leadership programs, quit feeling guilty for what you're not doing, and just do something. Start with vision, start with servanthood, get kids doing ministry, steal stuff from leadertreks.org. What's God putting
Post
you
it to your
through?
blog and sell it.
What's God putting you through in your life? Teach from that. But don't feel like you have to have this 4-year curriculum laid out for student leaders. Just be a month ahead of them, which basically means 1 meeting a month that you've kind of thought through. Maybe you see something in your ministry and you notice that this month, every Wednesday night, visitors aren't being greeted. So there's your training for next month. Here's how we care for new people. And then you realize that the youth room is left a mess every week, and all your student leaders leave, and you're the one stuck to stack the chair. So you go back to a message on servanthood.
Turn your ministry needs into ministry opportunities.
Nice.
That's another soundbite, man. You are just full of soundbites.
That is your
He's on
soundbite.
fire right
Okay.
now. That's totally weird.
All right.
You're getting old, so I was wondering if you
anything
forgot
to add
stuff.
to all this? Anything we've said today? Megan, what a treat to have you.
So fun. We're
Didn't
done
even
already?
miss Josh.
I'm
We're
so
done. That
sad.
was 49
Quick.
minutes.
That
You
was.
can
There's
imagine
no
that.
way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad because my kids, if you noticed, I had to get up.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
kids are now in your pool and they're
Yeah.
closed. So.
Hey, here's the great thing.
Yeah.
Your kids.
That's right. So leave them there and go do some
Sure. I know.
relational
I'm going to go on a
ministry
date with my husband right now.
Well, listen, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
That chair,
So
anytime
fun.
any of us miss, we want you.
Thank you.
You can't be on the 18 because this is the cool table.
Oh, God.
But every
Wow.
once in a while,
Wow.
somebody can't make our cafeteria.
You're fired from your volunteer job at our church.
That's not chair fronting.
Chair frontation.
It's chair fronting reverse. So anyway, no, make it best.
Oh,
Great to have
gosh.
you. Slingshot.com. Think Big 320.
Whatever.
Buy Megan's books because that's all we're paying her right
You're
now.
done, yeah.
We're gonna double your salary.
Really?
Yeah.
From nothing.
We could double it every
Thank you.
day. 'cause
All right.
we're
Glad you're
blah,
here.
blah, blah. You ready to go?
Ready to go.
Getcha.
Ready?
We're ready to go.
I don't know.
Episode
you got any
200.
parting words?
Episode
Usually
200.
say-
Be there.
Usually
Little-
say
little-
A little
bits
quip,
before
something?
you turn
Like-
it
No,
off.
I don't have like
May
it. There's no.
tomorrow be a... Oh.
Oh.
Okay, we can
Vegas
do it.
season.